everyone, and welcome to this episode of the Lifelong Podcast. I'm your host, Coach Molly from Three Pines Leadership, and thank you again for spending this part of your day with me here on the podcast. Yay! So we're available on YouTube. Make sure you subscribe so that you're notified of all of our videos when we release them, our live chats, our live streams, our uploads, our music, all of it. And you can also connect to us on our variety of different social platforms. Check us out on Instagram if you want some nice and inspiring quotes, for example. So today I want to share with you another interview that comes from the Mindset and Impact Virtual Summit. It is an interview that I did with Andy Benjamin from My Fire Within. And man, this guy is incredible. So one day I was sitting at home, typing along on one of the marketing groups that I'm part of. And I posted just a little question or just a little statement about a project I was working on. And this happened to be the Mindset and Impact Virtual Summit. And Andy sent me a private message, a video message, in fact. And honestly, up until this point, I had never gotten a video message before. So I didn't even know these existed. And I was like, whoa, what is this high-tech shenanigans that's happening? And I checked it out, and boy, did this man's personality shine through. He was like, high energy. Hey, Molly, I like what you're doing. I think you need to connect to my amazing wife. And I absolutely fell in love with the way that he is his wife's biggest cheerleader. I was like, this guy is incredible, and he is devoted to connecting people together. And so that's how I connected with his wife, Connie Benjamin, who you will hear from in a couple months, I'm sure. I will release her interview as well. But if you're interested now, you can check out both of them actually at the Mindset and Impact Virtual Summit, available at www.leadershipmade.com. All right, so back to Andy. So this guy has such amazing energy, so much energy. It just flows through the devices, whatever device I'm looking at his videos from. He is overflowing with energy. I can't imagine what it's like to be in his physical presence. He's so awesome. And I'm honored because he agreed to speak at the summit. And what he shared with us was so important. It's one of the missing keys, and it's understanding our bodies as temples, to be completely honest. Understanding that if we don't take care of our bodies, we're not going to have that kind of energy. And it's that energy, that's the fuel we need to drive our passions forward so that we're actually making an impact. So Andy shares with us all of his secrets to igniting that passion and living a life where you respect yourself, your body, your family, and you do that by understanding what you're putting into your body and how that vessel is going to take you through to live that life of impact that you've always wanted to live. So I want to share with you this amazing interview. So yeah, here it is. Here's Andy. What? No pencil drop? Oh, Andy, thank you so much for sharing your journey with us. That was such an incredible presentation. Like, I'm on fire just having heard all of that. Thank you so much.
You're very, very welcome. You're very welcome.
So hearing your story about your health struggles before you took charge of your life is so relatable to everyone. I think we've all dealt with looking at ourselves and not fully being in love with ourselves, or feeling like we're running on like 40% power in our battery of life. It's so relatable. But seeing you now inspired, excited, and on fire, it's such a contrast. Wow, what does it feel like now?
Oh my goodness, that's such a great question. And Molly, it was a real contrast. I wish I should have brought a picture of myself before, because I was literally a mountain of a man. and it was such, you know, I'll tell you what it felt, the thing that the biggest contrast between now and then. Right now, when I talk to people, I can step into that because, you know, my wife has a saying, you know, your mess isn't your message. Your pain is actually your purpose. That's what it is. Your pain is your purpose. And she may have even said that to you, because that's one of her favorite expressions, and it's becoming one of mine. And really, that's what it is. Because when I take a look at entrepreneurs and I take a look at what they're all the things that they've got to deal with, the entrepreneur's got to become an expert at everything. You don't stay an expert at everything. You learn it just well enough to hand it off. Like you want to use your leverage, but you can't be ignorant of everything. And so you really have to have your thumb in all the things. And what does that bring? It brings an enormous amount of stress. It brings with us enormous amounts of frustration at times. And one of the things that I get to do is I get to step in on a regular basis to step into that energy. Now, some of that absolutely is physical and in body, and part of my routine has everything to do with my body. Some of that is mindset, but they work together. They don't work separately. When people try to make them work separately, it ultimately doesn't work. So I think of right now, what do I get to do? I get to be on fire. I get to be excited about you. And being excited about you gets me excited about me, which makes me excited about you. And it builds. And suddenly we're like screaming about each other. So I've had these crazy conversations where people are like, what are you talking about? And I'm like, I'm just talking about life. I'm just talking about purpose. I'm just talking about, and the other person's like, yeah, that's what we're talking about. They're like, how do I get some? And it's it's fun. Molly, business building should be fun. It should be ridiculously fun. It should be exciting. It should be glorious. And I know what it feels like to not have those four pieces in place, where I'm doing things for money, but I don't feel it. Or where I know what I'm supposed to be doing, but I don't feel like a success. I feel like I'm going to die. I feel fat. I don't feel good. When I look down at my body, it doesn't look like what I imagine myself looking like. I was an athlete. You know, I was a martial artist for 10 years. I did crazy things with my body. I leaped across rooms half asleep, and suddenly I can't walk up 3 stairs. Like there's a discordance there. There's a not a harmony of message and being. And I actually remember that's the story I told you at the beginning, where my business partner asked me not to finish the presentation because I wasn't looking like success. And I remember talking to someone afterwards, and I said, and they noted it. And I'm like, yeah, we just tried. And what am I supposed to say? Like, I'm embarrassed as all heck. I'm like, because I'm fat. You know? So I said we share the stage, which was nominally true, but not really. It didn't feel like that wasn't an integrity statement. And he said, it's a good thing because I wouldn't have bought from you. And I said, oh, why? He said, I don't trust you. I don't trust you. You're not a product of your product. You don't look successful. And we have to recognize that. I don't care if you're selling shoes. I don't care if you're selling happiness. I don't care if you're selling hope. If you don't present well, you don't have the confidence, you don't have the energy, and you don't have the influence, it's very hard to be in harmony with your message. Not impossible, but it's hard. There's an integrity issue.
Oh, and I love that you shared with us the moment you started counting the hours to retirement. The hours to retirement. Yeah, and yeah. I can only imagine how draining that must have felt, like just pulling on any kind of leftover energy you might even have. And then you bring up the feeling that you just mentioned of the literally heavy feeling of, as you say, kind of being all there, but not really being fully present. Mm-hmm. And that your passion was what was draining you. And we're always told, like, go for your passion, follow your passion. That's the secret to life. But the secret is it's not that easy. So when you started going through that transformation, you started walking across that journey. What did that epiphany feel like?
Oh my goodness. The epiphany that my purpose, my passion had become my burden.
Yeah.
Awful. Awful. I had changed my whole life. One of the things that we trade as when we become entrepreneurs is we trade varying degrees of certainty for passion. So I traded all my certainty for passion, and now my passion had become just a to-do list. I don't know. I don't know if you've ever felt like when you wake up and you're like, okay, I'm going to work on my business, and all you have is this enormous to-do list, and you just think to yourself, I hate this. I hate this. I remember one of my favorite speakers, Russell Brunson, talked a little bit about this. He said at one point, he's like, I wish someone would fire me. I had I built a business. There was no one to fire me. So I wish someone would fire me because I just hated what I did. And his interpretation of that was he was working with the wrong people. My impression of that is that when your purpose, those four things aren't in place, when you don't have your purpose, your vessel, your relationship, and your message aren't in line, what ends up happening is that the reason why you're here is to create a change in the world. That you can't create a change in the world. You absolutely cannot create a change in the world unless you have those four things in line. Now, when you have those four things in line, you also happen to be working with the right people because you'll attract the right people, right? But that was what it felt like. It felt like, oh my gosh, I've traded everything for this, and now I don't want it. I don't want this anymore. Like, it doesn't feel good. And that moment of the weight, pardon the pun, the weight of that moment really had got me thinking, why did I start doing this in the first place? And I think we all jump into entrepreneurship because we're like, this is going to be amazing. I'll set my own hours. I can do what I want. I can do what I'm passionate with. And we think, and this is the same mistake people make in relationships. They think because when they fall in love with somebody, that they're always going to be in love with them no matter what, because the condition of falling in love is some magical thing that has no bearing on what you do with it. And that's a lie. And it's the same thing with purpose. When you get an epiphany to do something, you get so ramped up and excited to do it. And you want that to be present with you 4 years, 5 years, 10 years, 15 years down the road. It's how you cultivate that. It is not simply it's not a fall in love at first sight and then you just kind of sit on your laurels and let things happen. It's what you do with that. And it's the exact same thing in relationships.
Absolutely. My favorite thing that you mentioned in your presentation, I need to repeat so that everyone hears it again. Okay? Ready, everyone? Confidence, energy, influence. Say it with me, everyone. Confidence, energy, influence. We've been talking so much at this summit about rituals and routines. So as a professional speaker and someone who's studied the mind and devoted your time and your passion to understanding what's going on in our heads, do you have a pregame ritual or a morning routine or a routine or anything that sets you on the road to success?
Absolutely. Okay, so first and foremost, I take care of my gut. Okay, there's ways that I do that, but that's what I do. I take care of my gut. I make sure I set up my vessel to. When I start my morning routine, I'm about to build energy. I want to put it someplace. If I put it in a colander with all these holes in it, it's gonna by 4:00 in the afternoon, I'm out. Right, exactly. So I've got to set up my colander. I got to set up my container to not be a colander, but to be a sacred bowl. So I set first things first. I take care of that 360-degree health solution. Number one. Number two, when I begin, I reconnect myself with the divine. Now, I don't care how you do that. I don't care if you're meditating or you're praying or you're doing divine hopscotch. I don't care what you do. But here's the criteria that I use. And it absolutely has to be there. You have to be able to feel the divine. Connie calls it feeling lit up. Some people call it feeling the spirit. Doesn't matter what it is. But if whatever you're doing doesn't help you to do that, you got to do something different. Okay? Because that is the ultimate initial source of all of those things. We're at 2. Okay. 3, I search for messages. I know that I'm being given a message every day. No, I search for messages for me in divine places. And so for me, that's sacred books. But for people who aren't like, oh, I'm not big into religion and blah, 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 that's fine. Search for messages from divine sources. So there's speakers out there that when they talk, you feel the spirit. Okay. You know, and you all know what I'm talking about. You all know what I'm talking about, right? And so those are the ones that you want to go to. And when I go to read them, I don't read them as in what happened to Sally 2,000 years ago. That's not helpful. It's not relevant. I want to know what my direction is today, because I know if I read, if I'm feeling that connection, okay, I'm feeling that connection, and I read something inspired, I am going to get immediate direction on what to do today, not what happened 2,000 years ago, not a rule of thumb that if I apply it in my business, maybe it'll work. I'll get direction today. Call Steve. Call Steve. Talk to him about making a deal. Call Steve. Talk to him about some sort of JV. I get direct inspiration, and you will too. This isn't an Andy thing. This is a human being thing. This is a human condition thing. That's number 2. Number 3, I put on some rocket music. Put on some rocket. Put on some guys. When you hear music, you feel good. You put on rocket music. I put on inspirational music for myself because I want to see my future. I will forecast my future. I have a set of goals that I'm trying to hit. I will systematically imagine my day. I've got it written down. I never use it. I write it down, never use it. But I write it down to give me some sort of structure of what would my day look like if I hit all those goals. And I write it down. Once it's all written down, I looked over it for the first few times. I throw it away now. Because I know I have it in my head exactly what it's going to look like. And I walk through that day. My 12-year-old in that vision is 22. And I have conversations with her. And you might think, well, that's hokey. Is that the law of attraction thing? Well, a little bit, but law of attraction actually works. So there you go. So a little bit, but also it starts to impact my day. So when I have conversations with my 12-year-old now, I have different conversations with her based on that future experience that I'm going to have. So that's the next thing. And the last thing, and this is one's really, really important. I make sure that I take an inventory of my beliefs. And we very rarely do this. And most people are like, I don't know what I believe. I'm on autopilot. I don't know what I believe. And that's fair enough. Absolutely. I spent years like that. But here's the thing. If you are feeling anything you don't want to feel, at one point or another, there's a belief behind that. And I take an inventory of my beliefs and I readjust that belief. Now, I don't really have time to go into how to readjust beliefs here. There's a lot of people who do a lot of interesting belief readjustment. If anyone out there wants to know about it, though, by all means, look me up on Facebook, message me. I love to give stuff for free. You might not notice this, but I love to talk. I love to listen. And I love to give away things for free. So if anyone ever wants to know about it, or if you want to have me on some other time, I'm happy to talk about what I do, because what I do is ironclad and it's awesome. But it totally sets me up for success. And the last thing I do is I make sure when I've got my A game ready, the last thing I want to do is go with my A game and not interact with my family. So when I have my A game, and by the way, the one thing that I didn't mention there is exercise. I do vigorous exercise, and I do it with my kid. I do it with at least one of my kids. The other ones come in and go out, but one of them is like all in. So when I have my A game together, do the exercise. I filled that vessel. That vessel is overflowing now with purpose and energy and confidence, and definitely influence. When I'm talking to people pay attention to what I have to say. It's very, very cool. So it's overflowing. The last thing I want to do is walk away from my family without giving them the benefit of that vessel. So before I do anything, I take moments. I look for what's called pure moments. Connie and I teach this all the time, and there's a very specific procedure to it. But I take moments to take all of that overflowing energy and infuse it into my family members. And they need to know that they get my A game. And so I'm all ramped up. I'm ready to go. Boom, 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 boom. All my family, they're ramped up. They're ready to go. And then I go kill the day, because when I give it to them, they give it back to me. And I end up with 10 times more than I gave. So as much as I can do by myself does not compare with what I can do when I share it with the loved ones that I have, because now this bowl of energy that was overflowing is now like spurting, it's shooting all over the place, and I'm ready to go. And that's how we change the world, is we take what we have here and we expand it to our family, and then we expand it to the world. And it's got to go through that direction or we'll crack.
Absolutely. Will you join my Divine Hopscotch team?
I am all over Divine Hopscotch.
Yes!
All over it. Woo!
Oh, I love that you bring up the idea of integrity. Like when we line up our purpose with our actions and what we're actually doing out there, we're able to really amplify our message, as you say. We're able to ignite everyone else's fires around us and have that bright light shining for everyone. And here at the summit, that's our purpose. And we're bringing together as many incredible speakers as we can to keep that fire burning. It's as close as I can get to a fire circle, but that's my hope and my dream here. And it's all about those connections we make with people, and those, even if they're just passing connections with people who walk into our lives for a few days or people who walk alongside us for much longer in our journey. Here's a question for you. Who is one person, other than your amazing wife who you talk about all the time, but who is one person who has had the greatest impact on your life?
Wow, that's a tough question. Before I answer that, I'm going to say one thing. You're rocking it, sister. This is, and when I think about how real influence happens, and I don't mean influence for the sake of me being influential over somebody else, but influence for me is a current. It's a current that's shared. When I give real influence out, I gain more influence. The person that I give it out to gains more influence, and we all become a force of good in the world. We create a wave that can flow over the world. But that only happens when we have resonance. When you have resonating waves, it compounds. When you have ones that contrast, it diffuses. So what you are doing is you're creating a compounding effect. That's one of the reasons why I tell people, watch Molly, watch this. If you are not watching this entire conference, you are insane. This is where that resonance, because that resonance will grow inside of you. And I'll tell anyone, follow. I gotta talk to your people. So you just turn your head for a second, okay? Follow this girl. Whatever she does, follow this girl, okay? You will not be disappointed. Okay, you can come back into the conversation. I wasn't talking to you. Right. So here's the deal. Who has impacted me the most? I'd have to say it is probably one of my earliest teachers, who walked me into the idea of purpose. And one of the things that he taught that I just absolutely loved was the idea that there were these principles, these higher laws out there that took normal experiences and made them spiritual. And then as soon as the normal experiences were made spiritual, that means spiritual principles could build them and grow them. And it's one of the reasons why I am where I am today. And the man's name is Brandon Broadwater. If you don't know him, look him up. He's incredible. He's creating bunches of multi-million-dollar businesses in different areas. The guy has a golden touch, but he also has this wonderful level of integrity. He's one of those guys where when I found out how much money he made, like how successful he was, I was like, no, really, you? Because he's so down to earth. He is so give you the shirt off his back. I remember at one point he was doing a presentation in our hometown. I'm like, please would you stay with us? Like, because my mama didn't raise any dummies. When I get a chance to have proximity with someone, I'm like, I want to double down on that as much as possible, right? And I love what he had to say. He's like, well, please would you stay with us? He's like, sure, I'll stay with you. I'm like, God, I don't believe he said it. This is when we still had phones. I don't believe he said it. So I'm like, so he comes over. And all of our plans fell apart. He ended up sleeping in my daughter's bed. And I'm like, this is so embarrassing. But here's this great, I love these pink sheets. They're really comfortable. I'm like, how are you so awesome? How are you amazing? Are you sure you make millions? Because I thought you were supposed to be like way more arrogant. Like, where's my latte? You know, like he was just so amazing and so down there and so kind. And that really, the combination of success and that level of not just integrity and like I'm upfront, but integrity like I am who I say I am. I am who I am when I'm on stage. I'm who I am when I'm, when I am building businesses. I am who I am when I'm talking to you. I'm who I am when I'm sleeping in your daughter's bed. I am who I am when I'm doing all of those things. He's the same dude. And I was like, I want that. I want that happiness. I want the ability to be that kind. I want that all. I want it the whole package. And that's when I really started thinking about integrity and how that fire within grows. And so I owe so much to that man. So Brandon Broadwater, look him up. The guy's amazing.
Oh, definitely. Homework, everyone, homework. So we've talked a lot about igniting your fire. So let's take a quick moment to talk about, what puts our fires out a little bit. And specifically, I want to talk about that second D, deception.
Mm-hmm.
So we so often are self-sabotaging, especially when it comes to when we have to put the work in. Mm-hmm. So my friends at home, you guys, my change makers out there, everyone listening here, remember, we all have 15 minutes in our day to carve out to put in the work. If that's working on our bodies, if that's working on our minds, if that's writing our book, whatever your goal is, my friends, you have the time in your day to carve out, to focus on what matters to you, because that's another way to add the energy is by reducing what's going to put your flame out. You're going to add more energy to that, and you're going to have more power. You're going to have more influence. You're going to have more light in the world. Oh,
that's epic. What you just said was epic.
Mic drop. If I had a mic, well, I have a mic, but I'm not dropping it.
Don't drop it.
Not yet. Not yet.
Leave the mic alone.
So now here's a big question.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. Go for it.
We've all had obstacles in our lives.
Yes.
The obstacles that you've experienced in your life and the experiences that you've had in your life, what have they prepared you for?
Oh, great question. Great question. Here's the deal with the extinguishers of fire. They work together. They overlap. Okay. So when we start deceiving ourselves about what's real, what our potential is, and I love the description of what you said, Molly. And that's one of the biggest deceptions we have out there is we take all the things that we get to do to impact the world, we pile it all up into this big mountain in our heads, and then we say it's too big, and then we walk away from it. And we say, I'll do it tomorrow, and I'll do it tomorrow, and I'll do it tomorrow, and I'll do it tomorrow. When the reality is all of these things are actually little easy to do things. They're easy to do, they're easy not to do. But what happens with that pile is that we take a look at it and we say, well, it's too big, and then we get discouraged. And then we go to distraction. And then we start fighting with people. We don't know why we're doing it. You see, they work, they overlap. They all work together as this enormous barrier. So the question you asked me was, what has all of the challenges prepared me to do? All of the challenges have prepared me to break through that with my people, with my tribe, right? With the fire seekers in the world who are looking for their own fire and looking for the fires of others. It's prepared me to break through those blocks, to call it what it is. When I talk with my clients, I will say the words, you are lying right now. You are lying. And I'll tell you, I can say that because I've showed an enormous amount of love for my people. My people know that when I'm blunt with them, it's out of love. And when I say someone's lying, it's because I see their potential and they're making stuff up. I break through negative patterns and I do it predictably. And one of the very first things I do when I work with anyone is I said, let's get your health in order because you say you can't. You think you can't. I can't do this. I can't do that. I'm not. Break through that. Everyone can. Everyone can. And then let's start talking about how things are at home. Let's break through that. Let's make it the biggest lie that was ever perpetrated out there. And it happens a lot with women. So one of the reasons why I work with men and women, but men are dealing with the same. It's gotten to the point in this day and age where men are dealing with it too. I've got to pick. I've got to pick success or my family. I've got to pick happiness or people have got this idea that they have to pick one of these two things, and that's a lie. It is a lie. It's a lie that was built by the 4 extinguishers of fire that I have been uniquely positioned to destroy. I break through those barriers. That's what I do. That's who I am. I do it in myself, and I do it all. I am not perfect. I do it in myself. And I'll tell you, I don't care what level you get to. There's always another level beyond that. I don't care how much you've learned. There's always another mentor, another coach, another person that you need to connect with and hook up with. And I do that all the time because I'm not done. But there's a procedure to do. Once you understand the procedure, then it just becomes about doing the joyous, wonderful, fantastic, exciting work that we do.
Oh, I love it.
Oh yeah. But is it exciting? Oh yeah.
Oh,
It is.
yeah.
And it is soups fun. And I can say soups because I have teenage kids who watch a lot of television.
So let's talk about those kids a little bit. So when
Yes.
those kids grow up in that ideal future, paint us a picture of what that future looks like and how do you fit into that?
Oh, super cool. One is that my oldest daughter is punching me out most of the time. We train. I teach her martial arts. I'm a black belt in a bunch of things. Anyway, so she's beating me up a lot. So that's one, which is super great. All of them have an eye to serve. So all of them want to do a service missions at one point or another. So that's part of that ideal future. And all my kids are entrepreneurs. My daughter currently right now is building her first serious offering. At 12 years old, she is in the midst of creating a stack of value for other people right now and identifying her core person that she's going for. So in my ideal future, that is it's gone, it's grown. My younger 2 daughters have this enormous, they're funny because I'm a bit darker in skin tone. So I'm black. My wife is white. My dad is Jamaican black, so dark. My mom is northeast Canadian white, so white. And so my youngest, all my other 2 daughters, just from my side, are blonde haired, blue eyed. My youngest daughter is darker looking, but just slightly darker. So when my dad we have pictures of my dad holding the baby, and like that's a black baby, and then pictures of my mom holding the baby, and like that's a white baby. And I used to flip it back and forth to show people an optical illusion, like that kind of thing. But they're both. It's so awesome. I guess one of the reasons why I bring up color and race and stuff like this right now is that we're such a racially charged environment that my house has black and white people in it, and it's awesome. And there's no difference, and we don't have to be crazy with stuff. There needs to be some changes, but we don't have to be crazy with stuff. Anyway, my 2 youngest, they play together. They have all these crazy games that they do, and they have like most of their games are entrepreneur games. So like, I started a business and did this, so you're buying this from me, and I'm buying this from you, and I'm doing this, and it's wicked. And so in my future, those kids are those 2 youngest ones are in business together, probably doing something that their oldest sister taught them how to do. And so my future, I see a house full of entrepreneurs. If not entrepreneurs by the fact that they're building a business, entrepreneurial minded, that they don't wait for anyone. They create the reality that they want to be in. And that's my definition of entrepreneurship.
And that's so empowering as a father of daughters to raise a generation of strong, independent, forward-thinking, confident young women. In that, to me, is what is really going to ignite the world. We have lots of young men who are given opportunities to start businesses, and it seems to be socially normal, quote unquote, to raise men into entrepreneurial and business related ventures. But now we need to remember to ignite that passion in our young women as well. Just imagine what they can do, especially when you've connected them to the understanding of service and giving back to our communities. And that whole cycle can fit together so beautifully. Oh, I love it. I love it.
Absolutely does. my daughters are going to bring home the bacon and protect their husbands. So
Oh,
that's.
I want to be in that world. And I love also that you bring up the importance of sleep. So we forget how important it is that how important sleep is, and we often sacrifice it. It's the first thing to go a lot of the time. And then the second thing to go is what we put in our bodies. And it's so important to remember to sleep. So my friends, you have a lot of homework after this session. You're going to make sure that you
It's all good. It's all fun though. It's fun.
It's all fun. It's all, I promise
I'll
it will
work.
ignite you. It will set you on the path to success. Keep the momentum. If you're connecting with this energy Andy and I have right now,
Light the
take
fire.
this energy, take this momentum and do something with it, and start tonight by sleeping. Make sure you get a full night's sleep. It's your homework. Tell your spouse, tell your loved ones, tell your kids, tonight is my night. I'm going to sleep. Okay? So there's that, because we have so much on tap for the other days here at the summit. There's so much, and I need you guys at your peak. I need you inspired. I need you excited, because tomorrow we're taking this momentum and we're going to start serving our communities, and we're going to start having that impact. So Andy, thank you so much for being here. I am so excited that you've been able to share so much with us. Oh, I'm so excited. I'm so energized, and I'm going to go make some big moves in my life after this.
Fantastic, Molly. It's been so fun to be here. Thank you for having me, and thank everyone, each and every, all your listeners out there, for taking care of themselves. As you guys light your fire, you will literally light up the world. And your fire is so important. When you're here, you might think you're here for yourself, but you're not. You're not. You're here for all of us. You're going to change the world, and that's going to make the world better for my kids and my kids' kids and my kids' kids. So, on a very personal note, thank you. I love you, and keep on rocking. Let's light the world.
Oh, yes. Let's light the world, everyone. Have a good one. We'll see you in the next session.
See you guys.
He's fantastic, right? Well, thank you so much to Andy Benjamin and all of the other speakers from the Mindset and Impact Virtual Summit. You can check them out as well. You can get your free tickets at www.leadershipmade.com. It's a 3-day summit on resiliency, mindset, and impact. It's fantastic. And as I said, it's absolutely free. So that's it for me this episode. I will be back with you next episode. Make sure you subscribe to all of our channels and you'll be notified of when that stuff is released. All right, everyone. Until next time, remember, I love you, and be excellent to each other.